Yeah, I can't see the stream up on YouTube.
Yeah. Sorry, this is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast. Really sorry about this. We've just had a few technical issues. I'm just trying to get the Zoom capture up now because I've been having issues with it. Where's the Zoom capture? Capture us. Why aren't you Zoom capturing? Oh, damn it.
Yeah, it's not live on YouTube, I don't think.
Is it not? Oh, it is live on YouTube. I've got it.
Okay.
People can hear us talk. Damn. Should be. Why is it not capturing the Zoom? Oh, I'm having such issues. Hello again. Sorry, this is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast. Really sorry to those of you who have been trying to stick with us through this. I've just had some technical issues. Got some bad weather here and it's been playing around with the internet stream, but I'm hoping that we are good to go now. You might just have to bear with us a minute because I don't have the Zoom capture on, but we'll carry on the chat from where we were before. So we'll start it over again. We've just been talking about Taylor Decker, his status in the team in regards to coming back from IR and whether we shut him down for the year and whether we whether we bring him back in. So we're going to move on to the next thing now, and that is Dan Campbell talking about shaking things up in this team. So Campbell noted that he had some ideas specifically for the struggling offense to change things up. He said, I've got about a million ideas just floating around up here right now as to what I do. He said that in his post-game conference, and then a day later he was asked again, and he reiterated that changes are going to be made. When asked if there are alterations on the roster or in how the team practices he has in mind this week, Campbell confirmed there is. He said, I would say all of the above. I don't want to get too far into where we will go as far as the roster, but we are looking at that. I think we're going to shake things up here a little bit. Now, obviously there is a little bit that needs to change on offense, some bits on defense, Steve. If this was you, and you said these words like Dan Campbell did, what would be on your mind as to what you were doing in terms of shaking things up?
Definitely sorting out the balance between run and pass, which I think has not been right for a while. We've been giving Goff the ball too many times, and we've seen success in the run game, but then it seems so fragmented in terms of the amount of snaps the guys are getting, and they're not getting on the field together. So I would put Williams and Swift on the field together more and give them more plays together. For me, that's that kind of key to restoring the right balance.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we do need to find some way to shake it up a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't know specifically at this point. I know there was talks that they were maybe wanting to go in for a wide receiver, but we've done that with Trinity Benson already, and nothing has really come of that so far. But it's going to be interesting to see what he comes up with. And just for anyone who is watching, I do apologise. I think our view has gone, but I think it would a case of be having to make a new Zoom stream up to be able to capture this, and I'm just glad that we've got the stream working, so you'll just have to deal with our voices for now. Unfortunately, I will try and see if I can get that one
I've always said that you've got a face for radio, and
I do, yeah. It's probably best that you don't see my face, so maybe doing you a little bit of a favour there. But we'll go on. So things have been shaken up a little. We're going to see what's happened there in terms of actual roster moves. Geronimo Allison has been called up from the practice squad now. Given that we were apparently told there is interest from the Lions in trading for a wide receiver, bringing Geronimo Allison up from the practice squad would seem to suggest otherwise, that they're not really planning on this. What do you make of this decision to call him up? Do you reckon he is going to get some game time here, or is going to be making way real soon?
I mean, I just think I know there's like let's get Golden Tate back and all this kind of stuff. I just think any move to bring someone in is just we're wasting our assets. Like, let's just concentrate on development, and if that means someone like Allison, like a veteran, coming back in, I why bring in, why bring in expensive free agents, and who are we going to get at this point when the competition is going to be so fierce? You can already see on NFL news, kind of like a bun fight breaking out with various trade rumors. No one's going to come to the Lions, sadly, and if they do, it'll be for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think it would seem a little silly to trade for another receiver at this stage in time. We've already given up some draft capital for this, so for Benson. So I think it remains to be seen. But if Allison gets his call, hopefully he is able to come up and do something for us. And speaking of returning players, he's returned to the first team. There's a certain defensive back who we've not mentioned in some time because a lot of people forgot he was here altogether, and he is very injury prone. Deshaun Hand is back. He has been out for the last 2 months with a groin injury. I'd forgotten he was. I was very vocal about Deshaun Hand. I don't believe he should have been given a roster spot at the start of the season. I think we've been waiting long enough to see him back in a Lions uniform. We've been very patient with all these injuries he's had, and he's another one of that draft class from 2018 who flashed so much but has never really developed in the way that we hoped he would. I mean, we were told this wasn't going to be a big injury to start with, but then, all of a sudden he's on IR, he's not playing, we're not hearing anything about him. Then Dan Campbell says it's going to be serious. Is this finally going to be his redemption story? Are we going to be able to get him back in this team and get him developing like the rest of the guys are? Or has the emergence of guys like Aleem McNeil, Levi's ready to go in there? Nick Williams has been doing well. Kevin Strong is just back in consideration as well. Has his time passed him by here in Detroit now?
I mean, I really hope not. I mean, I like Deshaun Hand. I think, he's an Alabama player. He has flashed massive potential, like I think it was the Atlanta game last season when he was just awesome. PFF grade of over 90. He's got massive potential, but we can't keep him on the field. So let's see what he can do. Like, let's get him back and give him a few games. There's no pressure. This is the ideal time for him to prove himself. He's got, 10 games to prove himself. So if we can keep him on the field and he can be productive, it's a great opportunity. Yeah, I wouldn't want him taking snaps out of the hands of rookies, but I think we're so stretched on the roster, then I'm sure we can find some snaps for him.
You know what? To be honest, I never really thought of it like that. I guess if there is a time now just to say, right, go out, earn your spot or not, this season is probably better than any, but I mean, I know Ryan Farden especially, he was one of his biggest fans. He just couldn't go 5 minutes without him talking about him, saying how much he loved him, how much he was waiting for him to get back and develop, and he's just been such a frustrating player. So, I mean, I hope this is it. I hope now he can get healthy, I hope he can play and show us what he's all made of, because that defensive line's getting good. If he develops and does well, then, I mean, that could be good for us, but this is his contract year, I believe. Well, he's close. He's in the same draft class as Tracy Walker, and we're going to have to make the decision on him soon. So both of them, there will be decisions to make, and he's not got much time, to prove his worth here long term. So,
I mean, in that 2018 season, he was outstanding. I think he only played about 3/4 of the season, but he absolutely showed what you can do. And problem is, 2018 is a long time ago. But you would imagine that Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn, they're going to look after him and they're going to really try and bring him through and get him through these injuries in the best possible way. And like I said, he's got effectively just over half a season to prove himself.
Well, I mean, 2018 was just the classic story of the draft class that could have been. I mean, Tracy Walker, Kerryon Johnson, Deshaun Hand all had wonderful debut seasons. That's why the hype went through the roof so much for them. And I mean, everyone's thinking, good God, this could be a great draft class. And it's just injuries and inconsistent performances have just really limited their ceiling, which is such a shame with them all. Because they all could have been great players for it. I mean, some still can be, but it's a shame, but we'll see. Hopefully he does well, and we'll see. But speaking of trades and that, I mean, the deadline's coming up on the 3rd of November. It's only 12 days away. It's a week on Tuesday, I believe. Do you reckon any business is going to get done either side of it, or do you reckon that's it? We're all done. We're settled in for the year now. Nothing else is going to happen.
One Pride 40 in the chat, bless him, says, I want Chris Godwin. Oof.
I want Chris. I want Chris Godwin.
We all want Chris Godwin, One Pride 40. But if I was in Godwin's shoes, just won a ring at Tampa Bay, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Am I going to go to Detroit Lions? It's not going to happen. I think we're done. I think we are absolutely done for the season. I think getting in any free agents, I mean, what's our goal? If we got Chris Godwin in, what's our goal like in terms of this season's record? Get to 5-12? I mean, it's done. Let's just draw a line over this season, and it's pure development.
I mean, the trouble is, if you're trading for someone now, especially someone going out of our contract, this is effectively rental season. You could give up draft capital for them, and then you could just lose them in the summer. So, draft picks are just getting thrown away. It's a bit difficult for us to be able to do that. And even if not, we've got to pay him, and we're not exactly, as Matt constantly tells us, we're up against the cap right now. We don't really have the room to give him a deal right away and lock him in. So that's the only trouble there. But I'd love Godwin. I'd love A-Rob. I'd love one of them in the off-season if we're going to make a big splash. But we've got so many positions that need to be filled. Those fancy wide receivers and fancy quarterbacks are, unfortunately, the last in line if you build in the way we are, trenches outwards.
Yeah, 1.4 says, he's talking about next year. And I think next year, absolutely realistic that we could bring in a couple of free agency players, but I think we've got a lot of dead wood still on the roster to get rid of over this off season. And I think if we can get rid of some of it, then the opportunity will be there to trade, to make a couple of good free agency acquisitions, and before the start of next year.
Well, I think I saw it the other day. We've got about 60 million in free cap for next year once all the dead's gone, etc. We've got about 60. Now you've got to factor in there if you're going to pay Tracy, so that'll be a little bit of money there. And then obviously the question's coming up about TJ. He's in his 3rd year now. Obviously you can 5th year option him, push that question back, but the question of him getting paid may come up soon, especially with so many tight ends coming away with big deals and him being such a pivotal part of this offense. There's nothing to stop him going up and saying, look, I want to get paid now. And you've got to take that into consideration as well. And you've also got to take into consideration if you want to trade someone like Trey Flowers, Vita, you're going to take a cap hit as well and wipe away a chunk. So we'll see. But there's a potential. I said in 12 months this team will be night and day above what it is now. Just because of the draft picks we've got, because of the free agency cap we've got, how wisely Brad Holmes spends his money, I think we'll be a lot better next year. We'll be a lot further along than people think anyhow. But,
yeah,
I trust them to do the build right, so we'll wait and see. I don't know about the draft. I don't know what they're going to do. We tried to speculate last year, and they just pretty much blindsided everybody with the way they went, but in a good way. So, again, we will see what happens in regards to that. So, what have we got? So, yeah, before we go, we're going to go into the the main crux of the show soon. We're going to look at the Lions, at the Rams. But before we do, if anyone is still listening out there, you've got any questions you want to ask us before we move into there, just let us know. And again, if you are still with us, really appreciate it. I'm really sorry about those technical issues that we had. Just one of those things hit me at the complete and utter inconvenient time. But I know One Pride 40 in the chat said you might just pay Hawk now. You know, I would agree. I don't think I'd have many qualms if we did pay him. I think he's more than a tight end. He's a hell of a receiving option. You've seen what the likes of Kittle and Kelsey do to offenses. He's going to be in that conversation in a year or two. So
Get him to sign that 5th-year option now.
Yeah, do the 5th year now, like we've done with Ragnow. Because obviously we don't. Oh no, we've given him a deal. Did we fifth yeared Ragnow, didn't we?
I think so.
We 5th yeared, and I think that was the right decision. But obviously, the cap's going to go up as well, so we'll have more help from that. I believe I've heard the cap's going to be up at 250 million within 4 years. It's only at 197 at the minute. So that's a lot more money to work with in the long run as well. So that can only be good for us. But let's see. Is there anything else news-wise you've noticed this week that you want to get off your chest before we move into this fixture, the big one?
Well, I think there's been a lot of chat around Stafford and people trying to like overanalyze every single word that Stafford says about the Lions, overanalyze the fact that he, I believe he declined the invitation to speak to the Lions beat writers independently. You know, I mean, who cares? Like, let's just move on. It's a non-story. You know, I think Stafford's going to be the story anyway because he's going to ball out and he's going to play really well, and Stafford will do his talking on the pitch. But you know what more has he got to say about Detroit? You know, the guy is given absolute as much access as he possibly can, and you know, spoke to the Lions fans like directly. You know, in terms of like the video he did when he left. I mean, just give the guy a break.
Yeah, I think people are just looking for a story where there isn't one in that regards to him, and you know, fair play on him on not biting for it. It would have been easy for him to say something that they could have picked up on, but thankfully he hasn't. So just before we end this, One Pride 40's asked us in the chat, how long till you see us competing? Now, I've said that I reckon within 2 years this will be a good football team, simply because of the amount of capital we've got coming to us this year. I mean, we've got, as I say, 60 million in free agency. That doesn't take away, you know, if we trade other guys, because they'll be a bit cheaper to do so then. We've got the draft, we've got 2 first-round picks, which means you've got potential for trades to get more players. We've got a lot of high picks this year, 5 in the first 3 rounds, so there's a lot of holes you can fill there with potential, and you can also bring in veteran help through free agency. So I think, as I said, in 12 months we're going to be really competitive if we can get our guys back and keep them healthy, and again get a 3rd draft under our belt with Holmes. I think we're going to be, you know, competing in the NFC North in 2 years. I don't see all this 3, 4, 5 year stuff people say. I think we're a lot closer on that offense. If you put a good quarterback in there and a couple of receivers in there, and everyone's healthy, it's a really good offense. You know, there's not as much you need to do there. On the defense you do, but this year, with some of the rookie guys standing up, I think you've got less problems to fill than you did at the start of the season. I don't know about you though. What do you think in terms of competitiveness, competing? I mean, I guess it depends between a Super Bowl and an NFC playoff, but you know, I'll take the playoffs for now.
Yeah, I think I can't see us competing for a playoff spot next year, but I can see us competing in the league and winning 6 or 7 games. And you know, it is finishing 7 and 10 competing. Well, kind of. Like, you know, I mean, it's a long way from where we are now, still sat on 0 wins. So I think that we will be competing. We'll be able to win divisional games, but I don't think we'll be hitting the playoffs next year. I think it's all about 2023 is the year that we should absolutely have like a decent run. But we've still got a massive draft to have this season first, and we've got big free agency ahead. So for me, there's a lot of work to do before we can say we compete. And yeah, absolutely, we just need to add a quarterback and a couple of receivers. But the problem is, every other team will be looking for a couple of receivers and key skill positions, and it's hard to compete when you're potentially going to finish 2-15 or something like that.
Yeah, very true. It's it's easy to say all this stuff, but for it to happen in reality, it's a different thing. But I mean, for me, you add the development in from the players this year to the coaching. It seems there's a lot of solid coaches in there. Like I say, Glenn's doing such a good job. Fraley is. Johnson still is with the tight ends. I think Dan Campbell is. I think he's learning. He's made some mistakes, but he's a rookie head coach.
Yeah, totally.
He's going to learn. So I just feel it's different this time. Even in a year we're doing bad, I see just lots more positives than I do negatives. So,
Yeah.
we'll see. But, we'll move it on. Predator Kingdom in the YouTube chat just says, I never want to see Tua in a Lions uniform. I would probably agree with the sentiment there. I mean,
100%.
nothing against him, but it's the wrong time. He's had a rough start. It's not going to get any easier for him here. I mean, if he did come in and became your franchise quarterback and you didn't pay much for him, you've hit on him. But again, just wrong time for me. And there's always a new quarterback coming through the ranks who you can go and get. But it's one of those interesting things. No one's right. We don't really know. So we'll move it on, and we'll move to the crux of this now. So obviously, Lions at Rams this weekend. Detroit are travelling to LA, and they are going to meet back up with long-time quarterback Matthew Stafford. Not that anyone, anywhere, ever has mentioned this. Feels like a bit of a rotten time to be playing them after coming off such a, bad defeat last week. But I don't see this one going as bad. Like I say, just simply from even just a schematic point of view, the way we match up against them, these are a lot more susceptible to the run game. I think it's about 20-30 yards a game more than Cincinnati are. I don't know. What are your feelings coming back on this now with Stafford? Just your initial feelings now that we're here, now that it's happening. What are the initial sort of feelings about this contest?
I think it's a bit like maybe, I don't know, going to the supermarket on Valentine's Day and buying like a microwave meal for one, and then like seeing like your ex with like her new partner, hand in hand going down the aisle. Is it something like that? Maybe how we feel about Stafford. I don't know, Ant. Am I just being super dark?
See, I've moved. I've not moved on. I've always said this from the very beginning. I love him. He's been here since the start of my Lions fandom, and I've never known anyone else at quarterback. But at the end of the day, I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and he's gone now. And I wish him all the best in the world. I hope he really does well. Going into this season, the Rams are looking good. They're not anywhere near as good as the Cardinals are. The Cardinals are going to be, beating them out for NFC honors, I do believe. But, I want him to do well. He did a lot for this city, and he was just a stand-up role model and a leader. But, times move on.
Me too. I mean, I wish Stafford all the best. I completely get why he went. I hope he does really well with the Rams. I hope he wins the Super Bowl with the Rams. Because, I still feel like a really strong emotional attachment to the guy. I'd much rather seen Stafford win the Super Bowl than another Bucks or the Packers or anything like that. So, yeah, I hope he does really well. And but, yeah, we've got to move on. We absolutely have to move on.
Yeah, I agree totally. We've got to focus on the Lions this week, and that's where it's at. Stafford's going to be there, but we've seen there are possibilities there. There are ways to get to him. There are ways to disrupt his game, and we'll go into it now. So,
Yeah.
in terms of practice reports, not much has come out. The LA Rams haven't put anything out this week yet. The Lions did for yesterday. Nothing has come out today to my knowledge, but Jason Kabinda, TJ Hawkinson and Nick Williams did not practice. Michael Brockers, Trey Flowers, Charles Harris, Will Harris and DeAndre Swift were all light participants with various injuries, but I did see that TJ and Nick and Kabinda, I believe they are all back in training today. I don't think anyone is really in danger of missing this one out at the minute, so that's a positive from our standpoint. But in terms of the Rams, they've not really put anything out yet. I know they've just lost their backup tight end for the season. I know they've just lost their backup running back Jake Funk for the season, or like running back 3 or something like that. But yeah, there's not a lot we can gain from that. But usually how I look at these, I go through them position by position, and we have a little look about this one. So obviously this is all about the tale of 2 quarterbacks, this one. It's not often you get a fixture where the 2 quarterbacks have just been traded from one to the other and they're on the opposing team playing one another. So obviously Jared Goff has come over here. He's 159 of 238 on passing for the season. It's 66.8% passing accuracy, 1,505 yards at 6.3 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, 139 of 200, 69.5% accuracy, 1,838 yards, 9.2 yards per average for his throws, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. It's safe to say that one of these has bedded down a lot quicker than the other.
You okay?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was just sort of waiting for you.
Just a real dramatic pause then, and
Yeah. Go on.
yeah. I mean, I think I mean, where do you want me to start? I mean, I think with Stafford. Let's start with, say, the Giants game. So the Giants are a bad team, and the Rams absolutely smoked the Giants last week. I don't know how much of it you saw, but I mean, they absolutely exposed the Giants at every position. But Stafford also showed a few Stafford-esque flashes of things that we didn't like in Detroit. They're hanging onto the ball for too long, 3rd down coverage sack. I think he was sacked twice, and they were like pretty bad sacks. The one, he kind of got double teamed and really like chucked on the floor underneath like the body weight of 2 Giants defenders, and I remember kind of being like, oof, because you've seen him do it for the Lions. He threw 1 interception last week, but to be honest, it was like a rocket that hit Cooper Kupp straight in the hands, and he just couldn't hold on to it. So it wasn't really on Stafford because it was a good throw. But yeah, I mean, Stafford, I've never felt he was a top 5 QB. I always felt he was somewhere around 7 or 8 in the NFL, and that's kind of how he looked last week against the Giants. So yeah, there was lots of amazing throws. He threw 22 out of 28 passes, 250 yards, 4 TDs. Him and Cooper Kupp are really connecting well. Robert Woods too. He's getting plenty of attention. But there was still a few things that you just thought, that's Stafford. That's where he sometimes gets unstuck. Having said that, they were able to put John Wolford on by the end, and I think with 10 minutes to go, because the game was dead. So Stafford looks a powerhouse in the Rams. But yeah, there's still flaws, but I'm just not sure we've got the secondary or the pass rush that's going to trouble him.
No, like I say, I didn't really want to talk about the trade too much in this, because obviously you see a lot now spoken about it, about how, oh look, the Rams have won it, they've got Stafford, we've got Goff on there, but in terms of it, as a whole, we need to wait 3 or 4 years to fully answer this question, I believe, because I mean, right now, the Rams were always going to get the better of this trade to start. They were getting the better quarterback, plain and simple, who's in a fresh new environment. We all know how good he is. We all know he was going to take like a duck to water there. and it's shown in the stats so far. He's ahead of Goff in absolutely everything. But not only that, he's got a better receiver core there. They're more equipped to go after a championship now. It's very easy to say that the Rams fleeced us in this trade, but if in 3-4 years down the line we are contending, those 2 first-round picks we get a quarterback with one of them, maybe we get 2 game-changing players, and they still haven't won a Super Bowl, then you look at it and you go, well, actually, the Lions won that trade. Which is why I don't believe that you can put a grade on it now, as I've seen a lot of people doing, because I've seen the slander towards Holmes starting now. The Benson trade is getting ripped. Even the Brockers one is, which I don't agree with, but we've got to wait a long time until we can really, analyse what's happened with this trade, don't we? It's just right now they're getting the better of it.
Yeah, this trade was never a kind of comparable trade. It was just a case of what could we get for Stafford in terms of draft capital, and I guess also making sure that we never saw him in the NFC North. And I think the Rams is a good home for him, and he will excel. I think his stock has gone up. And he's generally been allowed to shine. You can see his talent absolutely clear as day playing in that Rams outfit. And it really pains me to kind of say it in a way, but at the same time, I'm not bitter and I'm not going to, deny him having some success. And we've talked a bit about the NFC in general and how it's probably the weaker of the 2 conferences compared to the AFC. And I think Stafford will probably be in the NFC divisional game this year. I'm not sure he'll make the Super Bowl, but he'll certainly get to probably the championship game. I can see him facing off against Rodgers in the NFC championship game.
Whoa. We're having a bad enough season already. Let's not project Green Bay to another NFC championship game, Steve. Let's not do that.
Can you see them not winning the NFC North?
Oh, well, that's a foregone conclusion. The rest of us are bloody awful, but I think the Cardinals are better. I've been on the Kyler Murray hype train from day one. I said that by the time he gets his pro deal, he'll be better than Russell Wilson. He's on his way. I love the look of that Cardinals side. I think, they're going to come up against one another again eventually, probably, and it's going to be one of the best games ever, I believe. It could potentially be like that.
I think the Packers will finish with a really strong record, and they'll get home field advantage and an easy draw. So that's how I can see them making the championship game. But yeah. I'm not sure that they'll make it to the Super Bowl yet again. I think they'll have a choke, and I think it'll be the Rams or the Cardinals that they face in the championship game.
Okay, so in terms of Goff, any chance you reckon that he's going to have a revenge game this weekend? Do you reckon he's going to be extra motivated? I don't like the Rams because of McVay. I think McVay got away with a lot of stuff there, blamed it on Goff rather than his own shortcomings as well, which I believe got figured out. We know Stafford will have a good game, but is Goff going to go there, and is he really going to, show some emotion at last and just go hell for leather to prove everybody wrong?
I think McVay, for the benefit of our US listeners, is what we would call a bell end. He's not my favourite coach, but he's probably someone that can bring the best out of Stafford. I can't see a Goff revenge game. No, absolutely not. Would I love to see it? Well, it would be funny. It would be kind of amusing from a almost surreal point of view. But there's not going to be a Goff McVay revenge. It's just not going to happen.
No.
But it's nice to have a little chuckle.
Well, I'm a Kool-Aid drinker, so we're going to get later on into this analysis. I'm fully going to start chugging it this week. Just a shout out to everyone who's still listening. Everyone's back, I believe. Thanks ever so much for dealing with us through this. Dan's back on Twitch. I'm going to answer some of your questions in a minute, Dan, because they're pertaining to what we're about to come up to on YouTube. Go Lions says, hope we win this week. Let's go. I like the enthusiasm. One Pride 40 says, possible upset. Hell yeah. This is the one game where everyone has written us off. No one is giving us a chance. There's always the possibility of an upset. So let's keep the optimism going. I mean, we've pushed the Ravens, we've pushed the 49ers technically, we've pushed, I'd hate to say it, but the Vikings. They are a little better than a lot of other teams. There's no reason why it can't happen, but it's going to require a lot going right for us. Goal Line says if it was between Dallas and the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, who would you take? Who would you take?
Rams.
You take the Rams?
Yeah.
I know, the Cowboys flatter to deceive. I do like the Cowboys. I do like their offense, but I think their defense is just not on par with the Rams. So I would agree. I think the Rams would win out of that. But like I say, I don't think the Rams are going to beat the Cardinals. I can't see it happening. They've already been whooped once, and I believe the Cardinals would do that to them again. But
Yeah, I think the Cowboys, other than that win against the Chargers, which was like super close, I think the Cowboys have played a lot of bad teams this year. And if you look at the Cowboys, you know, they don't play. They play the Chiefs and the Saints in the space of 2 weeks at the end of November, and I think that will kind of really show us how, for real that the Cowboys are. They've also got to play the Cardinals in week 16, so I think that will be interesting. But they've had a lot of easy games. If you look at who they've beaten, the Giants, the Panthers, the Eagles, they got, then they beat, who else? They beat the Chargers, lost to the Bucks. I'm not convinced. They beat the Patriots, but the Patriots are not looking good. So, for me, they're a bit like the Panthers. And the Panthers were 3-0 without really beating anyone. And I kind of feel the Cowboys are a bit like that. I think Vikings Cowboys next week will be an interesting game.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. But I'm not going to say anything about the Panthers. I mean, I was very vocal about Sam Darnold, and Taib, if he's listening, will hold me to anything I say about the. I'm hoping the Panthers sort of self-implode to make my argument better there, but I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to leave I'm going to leave that one well alone. So we've talked about the quarterbacks, so we're going to go into the running backs. Dan's asked the question, do the Rams have a running game with all their running back injuries? Well, we're going on to the running backs next. So for the Lions, obviously DeAndre Swift on this season, he's 214 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 295 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. Jamal Williams, 255 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 99 receiving yards. On the Rams side, you've got Darrell Henderson, 372 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 119 receiving yards, and another touchdown. And Sony Michel is back up, 205 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, just 20 receiving yards. So I think it's fair to say that from this, we have the better dual threat running backs out of these, but they have the offensive line and the talent. Their running backs have been rushing for more than ours. I mean, it seems a little even here. We've got the better dual threat guys. They maybe have the better just pure runners for now, just given the situation that's on there. I mean, looking at that, I'd take our running back room any day of the week over there too. That's no disrespect to Henderson and Michelle, but I believe in our guys. I just think they've not been put in the best situation for this, for this season so far.
Yeah, having said that, Henderson caught a great pass for a TD. I think it was about a 25-yard TD that Stafford threw him last week. I mean, I think the game was already won and they were kind of showing off, but still a great play. And Henderson's a decent running back. He 78 yards, 3.7 a carry. Michelle chipped in 4.7 a carry for across 9 carries for 42 yards. I mean, they get the job done. They're not spectacular, they're not big names, but they're decent. But yeah, our guys are better. Swift and Williams as a 1-2 package are better pound for pound, I think.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it's absolutely critical this weekend that we are able to get the running game going. I mean, Steve-O in the YouTube chat says he wants to see which one of them gets a 100-yard rushing game, but I mean, they've been working well in tandem together. I mean, they've been getting towards it in some games, but I like the way that We come out rushing with Jamal first, taking a lot of the heavy hits on, and then we go ground and pound with Swift. When we have been able to keep the running game going, it works for us. And that's the critical thing about us. If you shut our running game down, we're done for. But the Rams are a little bit more susceptible. They give up 110 yards a game on average to the run. The Bengals only give up about 88. I know it's not the greatest difference in the world, but that extra 20, 30 yards could mean a lot in the terms of a game. It shows they are susceptible to it.
Yeah, but I just think, again, we're talking about matchups. That Rams interior defensive line, it's a bad matchup, I think, this week. Aaron Donald, Sean Robinson, Leonard Floyd. I'm just not sure.
But I mean, for me, they're the guys obviously on the edge. Most of them, I think, there's a bullseye to be had, maybe a bit more in the interior. I'll talk about the defense in a bit, but there are ways you can do it, or you can try and go over it, but that requires Goff to start getting brave, and when Goff tries to get brave, we'll start to clench a little bit, because we know what happens when he tries to air it out. It usually results in interceptions. But I don't know. In terms of the running game, so it's a little stacked. So I say we've got the better dual threat guys, but I mean, I guess we have to because of the lack of receivers as well. I guess that's why their receiving yards are a lot higher than LA, than the Rams are. But
I think we shade our two are definitely better, but by a small-ish margin. And then you look at the receiving core, and they're like miles ahead of us.
Yeah, and I think that probably the coaching has a bit to do in there. McVay does get that running game going anyway. He's known as the offensive genius, so I suppose they do hold that on us. But overall, I do like our two guys, but we really need to find a way to get them in this week. If those two can get involved in this game, we have a chance. I say this every week, and it's a cliche by now, but it's true. We need to get them involved. So we'll see as we go. I shade that for us, but one thing that we definitely don't shade and we outright dominate is at tight end now. TJ for the season, 311 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. His blocking grade is 72.9. On the Rams side, it's Tyler Higbee. He's at 200 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and his blocking grade 66.2. Our tight end's a lot better here, and Huck is going to be crucial this week, because if you're looking at that defense, the one place that I say struggle but is less good than the rest of them are, if you're looking for a slight bit of weakness, is at linebacker. That's where they have a bit of trouble, and if you can match him on some of these linebackers and Goff starts to throw at him, that's the potential for the mismatch there. But Hockenson poses a huge threat in this one, and obviously he's a lot better than Higbee.
Yeah, I definitely you're right in that their linebacker core is probably like the weakest part of their entire roster, really. And so, Hockenson definitely has the opportunity to make some, have a bit of a comeback. Having said that, Higbee's decent. He's certainly not up there in the top 5 tight ends, but. Yeah, I think he's decent, and I think he'll be able to make some catches on us.
Oh yeah, I mean, if he has the sort of same connection as Hock and him did in the one season he was here, I mean, Stafford did start to trust him and use him a little bit more, but historically, he's not been as big on his tight ends. But I don't know. I mean, if either of them are going to affect this game, though, I think it's Hock's going to be the guy out the two of them.
Yeah.
He's critical to this one again. We need to aim for the middle of that defense where the linebackers are. Get it over the defensive line. Get it in front of Ramsey. That's for damn sure. Don't be targeting him too much. But yeah, that's where we have to go with there. But the big problem on offense, the one that really does separate us, is the receivers. Now, the Rams, Cooper Kupp, 653 yards, 7 touchdowns. Robert Woods, 353 yards, 3 touchdowns. Van Jefferson, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. And if that's not enough, you've then got the deep threat of Deshaun Jackson, 221 yards, a touchdown. His average yards per catch this season is 28. So not only do you have Cup and Woods attacking you in the short and intermediate areas, but you've got Van Jefferson and Jackson attacking you down the field. This is just a set of receivers who can hit you anywhere and everywhere. And you look at our side, our receivers, Khalif Raymond, 219 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Quintez Cephas, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, now injured. Amon-Ra also has 204 yards, but is yet to record his first touchdown. So all their 4 guys are above our top guy. This is where the mismatch really does come in. They just have such a unique set of receivers there who can hit you here, there, and everywhere. It's going to be really difficult to keep all these shackled up for long this week, especially with who's throwing at them.
Yeah, and I mean, Cooper Kupp is I think is an absolute Rolls Royce of a player, like super underrated in terms of, he's not as flashy as maybe some of the supposed top wide receivers, but he can run so many different routes. He can make some amazing catches. I think he's sneaky fast. He's got a great pair of hands, and he's really struck up a relationship with Stafford. And I mean, Kupp for me is like one of the best receivers, just daunting for our guys to face. And Robert Woods is a really good backup. Deep threat in Jackson. They've been limiting Jackson's snaps, and he's not really seen too many snaps in the last couple of weeks. But why do they need to risk the deep ball when they've got so much stuff? Kupp is absolutely lethal around the sort of 15-yard mark. We're really up against it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to come up against much better sets, just 4 deep as well, who just have the skill sets they do. We thought the Bengals one was bad, but these are going to be even worse. But you know what? I trust the guys in the secondary. I would just let them go toe-to-toe. They showed last week they were able to. Let's give them the opportunity to do so. But certainly, we've got to find ways to get ours involved. For after 6 games in a season, for our top receiver to be at 219 yards, that's poor even by bad standards.
Are you trusting Will Harris?
No, he can just be attached to somebody else. No, in fact, no, I don't know. No, I don't know. I trust the corners. But
the correct answer is no.
I trust the corners. I say this most weeks, but I want to see the safeties come up higher. The best way to protect your secondary, especially against the likes of Van Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson, is you can't give Stafford enough time to throw to them. They need time to get downfield and hit you there if they're one-on-one. So bring more pressure on him and make him throw quicker. Yes, you might give up some lesser yardage, but that's the best way to protect them, and I'll stand by that. But we need to find something with our receivers to do. They're tricky guys. They can do a lot of things, and we need to see what we can do with those. I'll finish off the offense with the offensive lines. So overall this year, Detroit's given up 12 sacks, 17 quarterback hits, and 17 hurries over 6 games. The LA Rams offensive line has given up 6 sacks, which is half of what we have, 11 quarterback hits, about 2/3 of what we have, and just 34 hurries on the quarterback, less than half of what we have. So, in essence, they've protected Matthew Stafford incredibly well. That's a good offensive line, which isn't as plagued with injuries as we are, and we're going to have to get inventive to get past them.
Yeah, I think the tricky thing with the O-line is that I thought that was going to be the weakness of the Rams this year, but they've been pretty decent outfit, because I think Whitworth was injured last year. He's come back, and I think he's having a great season. And you look at Corbett, Edwards, Havenstein. They're all pretty decent. Their PFF grades are all pretty high, and Stafford has taken a couple of sacks, but they're just classic Stafford, holding onto the ball for too long on 3rd and long kind of sacks that he's always taken. But I think overall they've protected him really well, and I don't think they're as up and down as our O-line are.
No, I think at full fitness, I would say ours would be better. An O-line is only as good as Matt says as its weakest guy, and our weakest guy is a lot weaker than it would be if everybody was fit. I'd say it was probably Matt Nelson, but there's so many guys in there who just aren't up to scratch just yet, and that's not necessarily their fault, but it's circumstance that's done it. But looking at this offensive line for LA, the route to go is through the guards. So Austin Corbett, he's given up 4 hits and 8 hurries this year, and David Edwards, the other one, he's given up a sack, a hit, and 11 hurries, which is like well over 50% of what they've given up in a lot of areas. So that's the area to hit. That's where your Aleem McNeils are. That's where Levi's going to be. Dan mentioned it in the chat. Is this the week for Levi to come in and do it? I think you've got to go for the centre of that offensive line, and you've got to hammer it. Leave the guards alone. Go for the centre, hammer the weakness, and really get at Stafford through there. That seems to be the thing for me. Is what I'd do if I was against them.
I'm just not confident that we're going to give him any pressure though. Like I don't think I think we've been good at generating vague pressure, but without turning it into sacks, and I just can't. I'm gonna make a prediction now that we don't get a single sack on Stafford.
Oh, I mean, we got 4 sacks on Lamar. They only gave up 19 all last season. And that was a good offensive line as well, a decent one anyhow. And Lamar moves all over the place. It's really hard to sack him.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. I really don't see it.
So I've gone through the offense there. I've sort of compared them side by side. There are aspects where we can be better, where we are maybe a bit better, but certainly where we're not, we are significantly not so. But to finish off the chat about the offense, what does it need to do this game to give us a chance in this? What needs to go right for us to be able to come out of this, if not with a win, then at least with a respectable scoreline, with us putting some points up, because we've not gone past 17 since the 49ers game.
What we absolutely can't do is Goff can't be trying to throw everything 5 to 10 yards. Because what will happen is they'll bring Ramsey up, they'll bring Taylor Rapp up. There'll be no room for our guys at all, no room for any separation, and the whole thing will just be an absolute cluster. We absolutely have to get Goff to air it out on some medium type throws, like the sort of 15, 20-yard mark, without throwing it right into Ramsey. The problem that we've got is, the rest of the secondary is pretty good. They all had good games last week. Okay, it was against Daniel Jones. But yeah, if you look at, Ramsey didn't have a single interception last week, but he didn't need to, because I think Taylor Rapp had 2. Robert Rochelle got his first interception of the season. They're all making plays out there. So, Goff absolutely has to trust his arm and throw a few into Hawkinson and maybe St. Brown around about the 15-yard mark. And we've also got to make the run game work. We absolutely have to hit them on the ground, because otherwise Ramsey's going to have a field day.
Yeah, that's the key to this for me. On offense, we've got to do everything we can to make sure the run game works. We saw what happened last week when we let them shut us down. And there's 2 ways you do this. Obviously, you've got to block really well and get the lanes open, but we have to start passing it more than 3 yards. We've got to put them in a situation where they can't afford to bring the safeties up. They can't afford to bring the linebackers on blitzers all the time. We've got to stretch the field a little bit more and maybe take some risks, but more importantly, they've just got to stay on the field. It felt like, we were only out there for 2 minutes per time last week. We made a joke at the start of the second half that Dan Campbell says we've come out in 2-minute offense, but maybe they misunderstood. It's the offense that's got to stay on the field for 2 minutes, not play a 2-minute offense. But the thing is, it wasn't even a joke. That's how long they were staying out there. So yeah, run the ball, stretch the field a little bit, and just Jared Goff, please, for the love of God, just put the biggest middle finger in the world up at Sean McVay and say, right, this is your punishment for letting me go. I'm going to be really good this week, and I'm going to put a big dent in your NFC title aspirations. So, it remains to be seen, but we'll see. Defensively, I'll not go through all the positions bit by bit, but just to give you a little flavour of where the two defences are at this year in terms of pressures on quarterback. The Lions this year, we've got 79 total pressures, 13 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, and 52 quarterback hurries. So, not the greatest, but I mean, in terms of Lions defenses in previous years, this is a big improvement. However, we go over to the LA Rams, 134 total pressures this season, a mere 50 more than we have. They've got 20 sacks, 15 quarterback hits, 99 quarterback hurries. Now, obviously, the chief perpetrator of this is Aaron Donald. He's got 32 total pressures. He's already at 9 sacks and hits this year on a quarterback. And then you've got Leonard Floyd. He's got 25 pressures, 5 sacks on the season. You know, you mentioned these two earlier, you name dropped them. The first thing you've got to worry about on this defense is them two, because they're just game-wrecking game changers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Leonard Floyd's had a great season. I mean, like Joseph Day and Ashawn Robinson on the interior have been good. But they are playing alongside Aaron Donald, so he probably elevates the entire interior. They've got talent all over the pitch on defense. And when you look at what they did to the Giants, I mean, the secondary were absolutely waiting for Daniel Jones to throw the ball. Taylor Rapp, 2 interceptions. Rochelle got his first interception. Ramsey was just kind of drifting about, making the odd tackle here and there, but he didn't really need to do much. Jordan Fuller has been good all season and looked an absolute menace. So that's my fear, is that if we can't get the run game going and Goff does start trying to make throws into tight windows, I think we're just going to get absolutely shredded.
Yeah, it's we're not making any bones about this whatsoever. This is going to be difficult. That defensive line is good, that secondary is good, but as I alluded to earlier, there is a weakness there, and this is the linebacker core. Now, only one of their linebackers features in the top 18 defenders under their PFF rankings this year. Just one of them. And you want to know the one thing that they're all not as good at as the rest of them? It's their run defense. Justin Lawler, he's at 56th grade for him. Kenny Young, 58. Who else have we got in there? Ernest Jones, 55. This is an area of weakness that we can exploit here. If we're able to deal with that interior defensive line, if Evan Brown can have another good game in there, if we can get some holes, if we can get the runners into those linebackers, that is the area to exploit. It'll get you enough yards to get downs, keep the chains moving. But for me, this is one of the biggest things with their defense. That's where the bullseye is. That linebacking core.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree. But it just feels like we've got to really excel in a really specific window, whereas they've got opportunities all over the field, and that's why I just think that this is going to be a super tough game for us.
It's true, but I had a little dig down deeper, and there's not just this with the linebackers and the runners, but obviously if you want to get a good run game going, you do have to put some targets down on them. And I was looking at the coverage grades, the yards given up to passing this year. The Lions have so far given up 1,623 yards, and over 6 games, you think, yeah, that's an awful lot to have given up by this stage in the season. And you can understand that. We've had a lot of big plays against us. And, with that weaker secondary, with the guys still learning, that's going to happen. But want to know how many the Rams have given up? They've given 1,703 yards up against the pass. They're worse than we are. Jalen Ramsey has conceded 236 yards to in coverage this year. There's a weakness there as well. They are weaker against the pass than we are by nearly 100 yards, and we're dealing with a secondary which is all undrafted free agents, or late round picks at safety and corner. I found that really surprising, but if you want to put a game plan together to have a go at these guys, get the run going on the linebackers, but start trying to pass on them a bit. Maybe get Blau in for some plays. Maybe do a little bit of trickeration so that they can't bring these guys up to help. Because if you find yourself in a situation where you're able to run the ball, where you're able to expose those linebackers, but they can't get the help because you're throwing and you're moving it down the field, there's areas to be exploited. Now, obviously, like you say, this requires a lot to go wrong, but I go into every game trying to find a route to victory. And looking at some of this here, I see one. It's hypothetical and it requires a lot to go right, but where are we going to be if we're just going to accept defeat? There's no point otherwise. I think that's really interesting, and I think that's the game plan right there. I don't know about you, but I would be going all out to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our receivers, throwing long, is not really an option. If you look at the all those little short dink and dunk stuff, I just don't think it's going to work against the Rams. I think we have to just establish the run and then just try and get some yards in that midfield area. That's the only key to victory for us. We've got to execute the plan spotlessly. My worry is that that's not been one of our strengths for most of the season offense.
No, it's not, but I think, it's got a bit stale recently. We need to up the play calling a bit, like Dan Campbell says. We need to get a little bit more inventive with what we're doing, but I think we've seen in flashes that we can do it, because in that Ravens game, first half they shut us down like we have been in so many games, but we came out and we'd adjusted our game plan and they couldn't deal with us in the second half. They really had trouble getting to grips with us, so I'm sort of hoping that's a situation there where we can come out early and just put some pressure on. We've got nothing to lose here. Everyone expects everyone expects Stafford to drop 50 points on us, on his own, and it could happen in one way or another. But I don't know, man. I think we just got to go out there and be fearless and go, right. We've nearly taken down some good teams. We can win this if we go out there and we execute properly. We've found the weaknesses in their defense. We found a game plan that we can use there to attack them. I mean, in terms of our defense, I think, again, I'm going to say this. I will trust that secondary to stand up. They did it against the Bengals, against good receivers. They stood up. But I would bring those safeties out and I would send the house towards Stafford. I think if you can get at him quicker, I mean, look at Julian Aquara last game. He's coming to life. Charles Harris is doing well. 4 games with consecutive sacks there. If we can put enough pressure on that weak interior and overwhelm them on the outside and not give Stafford those deep throws that can really hurt you quickly, I think that's the way we have to look to play this week. I think that's just me. I don't know if you'd be a bit more conservative and do it different. I'm just let's go balls to the wall here, because that's the only way I think we're going to win this, is by being brave.
Well, I mean, we're 0-6, so like I said, dinking and dunking and not throwing in a few blitzes, it's not going to get us anywhere. Yeah, absolutely. We just need to go all out. And we know that Stafford is vulnerable to pressure. So there is a specific game plan that we need to execute. It's going to be really, really tough. Really, really tough. But the Rams certainly aren't unbeatable, by no means.
So, we've had a chat about it, what we could do and that, but, it's all easy to speculate. In terms of, predictions for the game, I mean, I suppose the first question is, I mean, do you think it's going to be as bad as the Bengals game? Do you think they're going to whip us as bad as the Bengals did? I mean, a lot of people say they're going to, but what do you do?
Yeah. Sorry,
No. All opinions welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they've got so much talent on their team, and they are really good at executing, and I just think they've got more than enough for us. So I am going to predict Rams 41, Lions 17.
Oh, Jesus
That's 24 points.
Come on, Steve. I do the Twitter streams in the afternoon. I need something to keep me going. I need at least like 10 minutes where I can write lots of caps locked, excited tweets to try and get people going. I can't deal with I can't deal with something like that.
I mean, I would love to say something otherwise, but I see 40 points been put on us. Yeah, 24-point victory.
All right. Well, we've still got quite a few people watching us. Guys in the chat, we're at predictions now. What do you see happening this weekend? Are you with me? Do you think there's going to be an upset here? What have we got? To give us a little bit.
Hang on. Did you just predict the Lions win?
Don't start with your stuff just yet. I've not done it yet, so hold fire.
You just said an upset.
Right. I come into a season.
Don't tease us, Anne. Let's hear it.
I predicted big defeats against the Bengals and the Vikings the week before. I've had my negative side. I've never done 2 defeats in a row, but I'm looking at this. This is a trap game for the Rams. We're 0-6. They're rolling. Stafford's coming to town. I know it's their home ground, yada yada yada. But again, I look for a way for victory in a game, and I can see one. Yes, it requires a million things to go right, whereas for the Rams, it requires probably about 2 or 3. But I think there's a chance we can hit them. I think Goff is going to have a point to prove.
Don't do it. Don't do this, Anne. Don't do this.
Well, I did the lead up a few weeks ago and then said we were going to lose by 15. So wait. I think I like the defense. I think the defense is doing a great job. I think against a good Bengals offense last week, they held them. They just ran out of gas. I can see a weakness in the Rams defense. Screw it. I'm going to predict an upset win. I don't care about all the hate that's out there in the world for the Lions right now. Screw it. I predict an upset. I think they are going to underestimate us big time. I think our defense isn't getting the recognition it deserves in some areas. Yes, we're giving up plays, but it's because they're out on the field so much. And I just see Goff having a game just to prolong our agony. I think he'll have a good game and then we'll have to keep him in a bit longer. It's going to annoy us all, but for this one day, I think that something special could potentially happen. I don't know why I'm doing it to myself, but I'm going to go... Oh, Jesus, this is going to go everywhere, isn't it? Lions 27, Rams 24. That is what I'm going to say. And I'm not just doing it as a Kool-Aid drinking guy. Like I say, I've done my research on this. They're weak against the pass, potentially. The linebackers are weaker against the run. We just need to execute a lot better than we have been. We've seen the offense in flashes. We've seen the defense in flashes. And we've all said if these two could show up at the same time and do what we know they're capable of, we could put a performance together. And I just see it happening this week. I think we're going to put in a good performance, and I think the potential for an upset is there. Don't forget, the New York Jets went to play the Rams last year, and no one thought they were going to win in about 20 years. And what did they do? They ruined my Survivor series for the year. I was unblemished to that point. I picked the Rams to win. What did the Jets do? They won. Out of nowhere. Stranger things have happened. So
can I make a couple of points?
Just one sec, because we've got some comments here. So Dan in Twitch says there's a 28-year gap to the day, so they either beat us by 28, we score 28 points, or they duck us 28-0. I think we actually keep it close. Well, I hope so. Cheers, guys. Great show. Dan, I appreciate it. Again, really sorry about the technical issues we've had. Thank you, all of you, for staying with us. Well, he says there's a 28 point there. I'd not seen this comment, and I said 27, so that there is fate. That's one for Antony, that is.
Dan strikes me as the kind of guy that's like, read his horoscope this morning and has just, read something into it the wrong way. I want to get some facts, and let me drop a fact bomb on you, and
And just before you do, Go Lions says in the YouTube chat, upset. Lions want it more. Thank you, Go Lions. He's with me. We're on the upset train. Don't ruin our fun here, Steve.
um, so you said that the Rams were going to hold us to 24 points.
No, we're going to hold them to 24 points.
Okay, 24 points, right?
Yep.
So the Rams have only been held to 24 points once all season. Every game they've scored more than 24 points. The only team that has held them to less than 24 points is the Cardinals, who are 6-0, and we're 0-6.
And we've only been past 17 points once. I get the absurdity of this. I really do. But
You know,
I'm
you
an
know me. I'm an ISTJ. I'm all about the facts. Give me some facts, and
I've given you facts. I've shown you that the linebackers are weak against the run. I've shown you that they give up a lot of yardage in the passing game. I've shown you that there is, albeit however small it might be, there is a route there to win.
you've taken a big puff on your hopium pipe,
I have.
and you're like in some kind of like psychedelic world of where everything's rosy and the Lions are gonna finish above the Bears and the Vikings, and
It's not rosy. It's horrible. We are in the start of a rebuild. We are in a mess at the minute, but I see the positives in this team. I see a lot of positives. I see Aaron Glenn doing a miracle job with that defense. I see receivers trying to step up and get their way in the game. Our young guys, Aleem McNeil, Derek Barnes, they're here to prove a point. They're not here just to be passengers. They want to be the stars. And
I see a lot of positives, but I also see the LA Rams coming at us, and I just don't think they're the team to fuck about with. I think they are going to run all over us, and the hate is the hate for Stafford is just going to be ridiculous, and it's
if Adam Gase can get a win over them, then Dan Campbell surely can. That's the one defining thing I'm holding on to here.
Who was the who was the Rams quarterback when they got beaten by Adam Gase? It was Jared Goff.
Wasn't Goff injured? Wasn't it? What's his face? Wolford.
John Wolford?
I don't know. Stop poking holes in this, Steve. Just let me have my moment.
It's not really a hole. It's a chasm.
You know what? We're 6 games into a 17-game season. If I can't just get miserable now, I've got to keep smoking some hopium, and I've got to keep, I've got to keep the expectation. I've said we're going to lose the last 2 weeks, so this is not like just every week I'm going, oh, we're going to win. I have a feeling, some sort of magic. I have a feeling.
Let me give you an escape route. Okay, so let's say we just row back on this Rams upset prediction, and I just say I'll give you a pass on that. Let's look at so we've got bye week after. Oh, one more week to the bye.
Got Eagles next week.
We've got Eagles, Steelers, Browns, Bears, Vikings, Broncos, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks, Packers.
The 4th hardest strength of schedule remaining. I've seen the rankings.
Where are we going to get it? Where are we going to get our first win? Where do you see us getting our first win out of that?
Eagles or Falcons? We beat the Falcons last year. You know what? There's no disrespect to the Eagles. I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to do well there, but I think they're a team in transition, and I don't rate Sirianni at all. I think
you do realise that by the time we get to the Falcons, we'll be 0-14.
Yeah, I know. See, I'm realistic here. I'm fully admitting that it could be a long time, but this team wants it. This team is desperate for a win, and yes, the offense haven't been firing, but I see a fire in the eye of the defense. This is going to be a huge stage for them, and it's just, I'd love to Detroit to put down a message here. I would, and I'm going with my heart on this one, not my head. I'm going to be wrong. You're going to come on Monday and you're going to laugh at me, but this is it for me. I think just if there's going to be an upset any week this year, it's here. Yes, we could get whipped, but I'm fed up of hearing that we're going to get whipped. I'm going to be on the train, and I just think there's a lot of players with points to prove.
This is a trap game. This is a trap game for Lions fans who think this is a trap game. This is a double trap game.
Oh no, the Bengals one was the trap game. Lots of people said we were going to beat the Bengals, and I disagreed instantly because of the matchup. I used my head there. I saw that one, but stranger things.
Stranger things. Who, you know,
Anyhow, we
any given Sunday and all that.
exactly. Anyhow, we've digressed a bit. Is there anything else you want to say about the game before we call it quits for the evening and put these technical issues behind us?
So it's the later game, isn't it? Is it the
9:05.
9 o'clock game?
9:05 here, so we're going to be going till about midnight, which is
Right.
going to be fun.
Right, so let's have a look at what Sky Sports have done to us from a scheduling position because they have been giving us some pretty poor games. So this is a good Sunday. So starts off with the Ravens Bengals at 6 o'clock. That's going to be pretty tasty. And yeah, obviously Sky won't be showing the Lions. They'll be showing Tampa Bay against Chicago. Do we really have to sit through that? And then the Sunday night game at 1:10 is San Francisco at the Colts. Another terrible game.
Yeah, it's not.
I'd much rather see Tennessee against Kansas City.
And then you've got Geno Smith versus Jameis Winston on Monday Night Football. It's not the prettiest, but I don't know.
Actually, I'd quite like to see Green Bay against Washington because I would like to see Chase Young using Aaron Rodgers as a toothpick.
To be honest, I'd like to see Titans versus Chiefs.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one. But yeah, thanks, Go Lions. Yeah, you won't laugh at me. I appreciate that. You know, we've got to be optimistic in these times, and I think it's perfectly reasonable in a situation like this to say that an upset could happen. So we will move on, but we will move on together as one pride. We're getting through this season.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long slog of a season. But as I say to everyone, wherever I am, if I'm on this pod, Lions on the prowl, whatever, just look at the bigger picture. It's rough on results, but if you watch the development of the players, if you look at the coaching, it's better. It's different than it was under Matt Patricia. You can see it. You know, it's there to be seen. Just look through the negativity and look for the positives, and that's what this season is about.
Let's get through this season together with Roar the Lions, your number one UK support group.
Yes, and not number one in the technical side of things, but hey ho, that's on me. Matt's back next week, so hopefully it'll all run smoothly again. But you know, he's having a nice break, which is good for him. So yeah, that's everything for us this week. We will be back with you next Monday when with our main podcast we will be doing a review of the LA Rams game, and I will no doubt be hearing from anyone and everyone on the pod that I was completely wrong, or we win and I'll probably be solo on that show on my own because I will not stop gloating and they'll all be fed up of me. So there's a good chance either one of those could happen.
I'll be on that pod. I mean, like a victory would be amazing. Like, I'm not trying to.
Oh no, I know.
I want the Lions to lose, but I would love it to be Victory Monday. But
what is a Victory Monday? It's I can't remember what it was now. I just remember that Ravens game. I got the post lined up on Twitter and everything. You know, give me a hell yeah if you've just beaten the Ravens, and I had to take it down, and it broke my heart.
Justin fucker.
I know, and then you know what's his face for bloody Minnesota last week, who then missed one this weekend from closer. That was so damn annoying.
We had to get abuse from a Vikings fan on Twitter. I mean, that was how bad that was.
Oh yes, CJ. Ugh. Anyhow, yeah, that'll be the next time you see us on the main podcast. That's on Monday the 25th of October. And then 2 days later on the 27th, you'll catch myself and Ryan on the Roar of the Lions College Football Podcast. We'll be taking a look at week 8 of the season. We're into the second half of the college season now. If you've not seen it already from yesterday, the video is up on YouTube. We did our half-season mock drafts, and before you go, oh my god, it's not mock draft season, we're only 6 games into the season. We did it as like a little experiment to ourselves. As I say, it's halfway through the college season now. We've made our picks, and then at the end of the season we're going to do it again, and we're going to see what our views on the players we drafted now are and how they've changed. But do give it a look. There's so much going on in college football. I mean, it's so fun. So give that a check out if you want to. And as I say, that'll be back next Wednesday. That's live as well. Hopefully, if there's no issues, I'll make sure my internet's up to scratch next time. But apart from that, is there anything else you want to say before the show is done, Steve?
Just thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks for all your contributions in the chat. We can get through this together.
Absolutely.
The draft's only 6 months away.
Absolutely. We are one pride and we get through this together as a group. There's no group of fans that helps one another through so much crisis in the way of things. Oh yeah, and join us on Sunday if you want to for the live tweet stream for the Rams, and you can tell me how wrong I was, but you know, I don't mind as long as you come and chat with me. It's all good and fun. So until then, until we are back on Monday, one pride and have a great weekend.
Good.